4 ways to hurt those who hate you, without even lifting a finger. Have you ever felt the sting of betrayal without a single blade being drawn? The kind of hate that doesn't need fists or weapons, just a name spoken with venom. Or a smile so fake it could slice through your peace of mind? They lurk in silence. These people who resent you. They hide behind laughter laced with cruelty. Every glance they throw your way is a challenge. Every word they say in your absence is meant to pull you down. To remind you that they still live inside your mind, rent-free. But here's the twist they never see coming. You don't react. Not out of fear, not because you're weak, but because you've discovered something far more powerful. Something deeper, darker, something that leaves them restless while you sleep soundly. You don't strike back, you rise above, and when you rise high enough, they can't touch you. They'll claw at your name, reach for your attention, beg for a reaction, but you won't give them the satisfaction. Not because you're avoiding conflict, but because you've outgrown it. We don't play the fool's game of revenge. That game is loud, messy, and short-lived. We don't chase applause for clapping back. We don't seek vengeance like a badge of honor. Instead, we let them throw their punches into thin air, and in the silence that follows, their hate echoes louder and emptier than ever before. This is how you truly hurt someone who despises you. You don't descend into their chaos. You don't let their fire burn your peace. You let them suffer in the stillness, in the power of your indifference. Here are 4 brutal, yet elegant, ways to break those who hate you without lifting a single finger. 1. Stay unshaken when they try to shake you. Nothing drives a hateful person mad like seeing you unbothered. They test you. They provoke you. They throw verbal jabs disguised as jokes, hoping to see your facade crack. They want your anger, your fury. Why? Because your rage validates them. It tells them they're important. It proves they still hold space in your mind. But imagine their confusion, their frustration, when you offer them nothing. No reaction, no retaliation, just silence. They'll keep poking, louder this time. They'll escalate, because they're desperate for acknowledgement. But you remain still, grounded, stoic, and in that stillness, you gain the upper hand. Epictetus captured this perfectly. Greater than, it is not he who reviles or strikes you who insults you, but your opinion that these things are insulting. Let that sink in. Insults have no power unless you give them power. Their words are just wind unless you decide to let them penetrate. When you reject the invitation to chaos, you rob them of their fuel. This doesn't mean you're passive. It means you are resolute. You are unwilling to be dragged into the pit they call home. So let them scream into the void. Let them slander, twist stories, call you cold. You are marble, and marble doesn't bend. It doesn't burn. It doesn't flinch. And here's what truly terrifies them. When they realize that you're no longer reachable. That their insults bounce off like smoke against stone. That they're shouting into a silence that doesn't echo back. That's when the real pain sets in. Not in you, but in them. Their game only works when you play. But what happens when you walk off the field? They're left swinging at shadows. That's how you win. Without swinging back. Without saying a word. By refusing to let their noise become your narrative. 2. Build a life so disciplined. It shames their chaos. They won't admit it out loud. They'll never say it to your face. But from the shadows, they watch. They observe every move you make, every choice you commit to, hoping, quietly, that you'll fail. They wait for the moment you slip, praying the pressure will finally break you. But every morning, you rise, not with anger, not to prove them wrong, but with purpose, with clarity, with discipline. While they hit snooze on their potential, you're already moving. You're doing the things no one sees, waking early, staying consistent, showing up for yourself even when it's hard. They expect you to burn out. Instead, you ignite something within yourself. Day after day, you sharpen your mind, not just with books or words, but with thoughts that challenge you, habits that stretch you, and a mindset that refuses to be average. Each choice, each effort, it becomes a brick in the fortress of your resilience. And every night, while they waste hours numbing themselves with distractions, you hold yourself to standards they can't even pronounce. You reflect, you reset, you raise the bar again. That's when something starts to happen. Your life slowly becomes a reflection they can't bear to face. Because your progress exposes their stagnation, your consistency makes their excuses louder in their own minds. And you don't have to say a word. Your discipline becomes their discomfort. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic minds, reminded himself daily, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. And that's exactly what you live. You don't mimic their pettiness. You don't sink to their level. You become everything they're not, and everything they secretly wish they had the courage to become. That's why we train. We don't train to impress anyone. We don't wake up early to post about it. We don't read, meditate, or pursue excellence for applause. We do it to build a life rooted in strength, not spite. Because strength is quiet, spite is loud. Strength is steady, spite is reactive. And when you've cultivated peace so deep, so centered, so stable, their chaos can't penetrate it. In fact, it turns against them. Your calm becomes a mirror to their storm. Your focus becomes a reminder of their scattered attention. Your growth becomes the weight they carry. You don't need to call them out. You just keep rising. And soon, they feel it. Not just the distance between you, but the irrelevance. Because nothing cuts deeper than this realization. That the person they tried to tear down, the person they mocked, undermined, or resented, is now so far above, they don't even see them anymore. Not because they climbed to spite, but because the climb was never about them. That's what crushes them. Not your hate, not your anger, but your indifference, powered by discipline. 3. Outlive their hate. If discipline is the dagger, time is the twist. Because while hate burns hot and fast, it also burns out. People who live in hate are setting themselves on fire just to warm their pride. But that flame, it can't last forever. What we build lasts longer than what they destroy. They lash out, hoping to wound you, but all the while, they're the ones being consumed. Their thoughts circle in bitterness. Their peace dies a slow death. Because hate is a fire that feeds on its own fuel, and the fuel is always themselves. But we don't burn. We endure. We don't move through life reacting to everything thrown at us. We move with intention. We choose what we respond to. We decide where our energy goes. Every breath becomes a deliberate decision. Every moment becomes a chance to rise above, to resist the temptation to get even, and instead, get better. The Stoic philosopher Seneca said it best: how much better to heal a wrong than to avenge one? Because vengeance may feel good in the short term, but in the long run, it pulls us far from who we were meant to become. So we don't chase them. We don't match their hate with more hate. We outlast them. We walk forward while they stay stuck in place. And then one day, Perhaps years from now, the contrast becomes undeniable. They are still haunted by grudges long dead, still replaying scenes from old arguments, still drowning in emotional noise that no one else hears anymore. But you're building, you're growing, you're leading, you've moved on, not just emotionally, but in every aspect of life. You're no longer surviving them. You've outgrown them, and you never once had to scream, post, confront, or attack, because time did the talking for you. And time always speaks truth, without lifting a finger, without using even a drop of strength on revenge. You've already won. 4. Forgive them publicly, and mean it. And now, the most powerful move of all. The quietest, the boldest, the one that cuts the deepest. Forgiveness, not whispered in private, but spoken openly, clearly, and sincerely, not with sarcasm, not with pride, but with clarity. Forgiveness is the final blow, not because it's cruel, but because it's liberating. You step forward and say, "You don't have the power to make me hate you. I'm not giving you that privilege." Because that's what hate really is, a form of submission. When we hate, we give part of ourselves to the person we hate. We let them take up space in our minds. We let them shape our energy. But forgiveness? That's the refusal. It says, "I am free. You don't live in my head anymore. You never did." And it does something remarkable. It exposes them, not with force, but by contrast. They look small, petty, childish, because here you are, calm, composed, and kind, while they still stew in their own bitterness. And in that moment, the world sees the difference. Not because you tried to prove anything, but because you didn't have to. When forgiveness comes from strength, not weakness, it doesn't just end the war, it removes the battlefield entirely. We forgive, not because they deserve it, but because we deserve peace. Forgiveness that comes from strength, not weakness, cuts deeper than any act of revenge. Forgiveness, when it comes from strength and not from weakness, wounds more deeply than revenge ever could. Why? Because it sends a clear, unshakable message. You are no longer a threat to me. It tells them, without yelling, without drama, I've already buried the damage you tried to cause. And I buried it inside the stronger version of me I've become. That's not just letting go, that's transformation. You didn't ignore the wound. You didn't deny the pain. You used it, you absorbed it, you forged it into strength. So when they look at you now, they no longer see the person they once tried to break. They see someone forged by fire, someone they can no longer reach, manipulate, or shake, and that is what truly unsettles them. Monimus Rufus, the teacher of Epictetus, once said, "It is not enough to refrain from harming others. We must also not wish them harm." Read that again. It's not just about restraining your hands, it's about training your heart. You can stay silent, but what happens inside of you is what truly matters. Because real discipline isn't just about control, it's about elevation. And this is the narrow path only the truly disciplined can walk. Anyone can bite their tongue, but to not even wish harm upon those who hurt you, to see them walk away and not want them to suffer, that takes something deeper, something stronger, because when you truly forgive, you do something profound. You take away the last weapon they hold. They can no longer guilt you. They can no longer bait you into rage. They no longer live rent-free in your head, whispering bitterness into your thoughts. Forgiveness is locking the door from the inside and throwing away the key. And yes, the world sees this. They feel it in your presence. They see it in your peace. They notice how you move, not with bitterness, not with tension, but with clarity, calm, grounded, clean. You're no longer trapped in the old story. And people feel that shift. They whisper to themselves, "How does he do that? How does he walk through fire and still bless the hand that lit the match?" Because what they don't know, what they can't comprehend, is that forgiveness is not surrender. It's not weakness. It's not giving up. It's not letting the enemy win. No, it's freedom. It is the final, quiet revolution, the ultimate rebellion against pain, resentment, and control. When you forgive, truly forgive, you're not just releasing them. You're releasing yourself from their poison, from their grip, from the version of you that still reacted to what they did. Forgiveness says, "You no longer get to exist in my mind." And in that moment, a moment they never expected, the war ends. Not with an explosion, not with a counterattack, but with peace. And that peace terrifies them, because it's not passive, it's powerful. It's the kind of peace that can't be bought, stolen, or faked. It's the kind of peace that only comes from facing your darkness, staring it down, and choosing to walk forward anyway. To forgive is to say, "I am no longer at war." And there is no punishment more crushing to those who hate you than this truth. You are free. You're no longer fighting them. You're no longer reacting to them. You're no longer bound by the story they thought they were writing. You're building something new, something they can't touch, something they can't poison, something they can't destroy. And they'll never understand how you did it, because they're still trapped on the battlefield, throwing punches at ghosts. But you've moved on, not dead, not defeated, reborn. So remember, hurting those who hate you doesn't require rage, revenge, or retaliation. It doesn't require shouting louder, striking harder, or proving your worth. It only requires this: that you don't become them, that you keep walking, even when they throw stones, that you keep building, even when they try to tear you down, that you forgive, not because they deserve peace, but because you do. Because in the end, true strength isn't loud, it's quiet, it's calm, it's unshakable. And the most powerful revenge is not to destroy your enemies, but to become someone they can never reach. Let them scream, let them doubt, let them fade. You rise. This is how you win, without lifting a finger. Thank you for watching. If this message sparked something within you, like, share, and subscribe to Stoic Glow, where ancient wisdom meets modern resilience. Until next time, stay steady, stay grounded, and let your silence speak louder than their noise.